We're your daily collegiate football beat. We're here to talk about Penn State's upcoming matchup at Temple in Philadelphia. Penn State's coming off a 22-13 win last year. They've won 27 straight against Temple. It's been one-sided series since 1941. I believe that's the last time Temple won. So right away, it's the thing we've been talking about for weeks now. Penn State quarterback, still no answer. You guys want to talk about what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks, and we really haven't gotten any answers after Indiana State and after Alabama. Matt McGloin was just 1 for 10 for no yards against Alabama. Didn't get a whole lot of help. Neither did Rob Bolden. He was 11 for 29 for 144 yards and an interception. It seems like they're leaning towards Bolden. He's started, and Joe Paterno even admitted he made a mistake by taking out Bolden after the first 2 series against Alabama. So this may be the week where we see Bolden break away, or McGloin could kind of regain that swagger he had and that offensive flow that he was creating even last season.
Yeah, I wasn't on the conference call with wide receiver Shawnee Kersey yesterday. I forget who was on that, but
yeah,
I think Shawnee Kersey said he would like to have one quarterback name, so he just get into that rhythm.
Yeah, Shawnee Kersey during his conference call said exactly that. He said it's tough to get in rhythm when you have 2 guys. You don't know who's going to be the guy throwing it each time. Each quarterback has different tendencies. Rob Bolden likes to move around the pocket. Matt McGloin, not so much. I mean, it's got to be tough for a team when you're not really sure who's going to be the guy throwing to you, especially as a wide receiver, and especially when these wide receivers are having some trouble catching the ball early. They need one solid guy, I think, and I think it's going to be Bolden this week. I mean, I think we all think that would.
And Temple quarterbacks actually a little bit of the same situation, except there's a little more stability in their 2 quarterback system. Mike Girardi. He's a pocket passer. He's been throwing the ball a lot more than Chester Stewart, which is the other quarterback. He runs the ball a lot. He's mobile. He's quick. He's hard to bring down in the open field. So they use both those guys to their strengths. And Penn State defense is going to have their hands full. Game plan for them.
It's kind of similar to what we saw last year at in the Outback Bowl against Florida. You had Jeff Demps taking a lot of snaps, running a Wildcat type thing. You had John Brantley coming in on 3rd and long. It seemed like last year was tough for them to establish a rhythm with that 2 quarterback system because Brantley would come in cold on 3rd and longs, but Temple seems to utilize it pretty well.
It'll be interesting to see if we see some of those same plays from the Florida game. Temple head coach Steve Adazio is the offensive coordinator at Florida last year.
And big thing for Temple, I think, is if they're going to win this game, they're going to beat Penn State for the first time in 27 tries or 28 tries now. It's going to be the running game. They have Heisman candidate Bernard Pierce, who's a big, mean back. He was doing pretty well against Penn State last year until he went down with an injury. And they also have Matt Brown, who's a really good secondary back, and a guy that Nick Suke said that he's a guy that Penn State really needs to focus on, because if they forget about him and only focus on Pierce, and they're going to be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and I know Pierce, he got in a little trouble in high school. I think the big programs are kind of afraid of him, but he could be at almost any Big Ten school starting. I mean, he's an elite running back. He's a big guy. I think he's 6'1", close to 220 pounds, has close to 300 yards and 6 touchdowns this year. So, Penn State's defense definitely got their hands full.
And defensively, Penn State, they had a lot of success against Alabama, put in some tough situations. They did a lot of then not great defense. I think they did fairly well. D-line, linebackers got a pretty good push. What do you guys think has to happen this week to kind of have that big play they've been looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's something a lot of people were asking about the Alabama game. They didn't force a turnover. They didn't strip any fumbles. They didn't pick any passes off. And, that's kind of a really hard thing to put your finger on. How do you make that play happen? But I think the big thing for them is just to keep doing what they're doing. I think Eric Lattimore talked about how every week in practice they work on trying to strip those fumbles, and they work on those drills. So I think they just keep putting in that work. It'll come eventually.
Yeah, Joe Paterno said it's pretty much hard luck that they're not getting these interceptions, these forced fumbles. I mean, there's only so much you can do to practice getting interceptions and fumbles. I mean, it depends. A lot of it depends on the other team fumbling the ball or throwing it away from the receiver. So eventually those interceptions and forced fumbles will come, but Penn State needs them as soon as possible.
And Alabama's great. I mean, they're one of the best 5 teams in the country. So they wanted a turnover, but against Alabama, they're disciplined, they're smart. AJ McCarron, put the ball where only his receivers could get it. He had a good release, got rid of the ball early, and we saw a couple tip passes actually. And Penn State just couldn't come up with them. Maybe it's bad luck, maybe it's not being quick enough, but I think they'll come. Alabama's a good team, and the fact that they didn't force a turnover against them shouldn't dictate that they won't force any turnovers the rest of the season.
It's important to keep in mind that Penn State rush defense kept Trent Richardson at bay for almost 3 quarters. You know, he started to go off in the 4th quarter, but they kept him pretty locked down for a long time.
Last year against Temple, Colin Wagner hit 5 field goals, 15 of Penn State's 22 points. What do you guys, anything you're looking for from special teams on Saturday here?
I mean, I think the special teams won't have to do what it did last year if, you know, they can get in the end zone. A lot of drives stalled. We saw Bolden last year, you know, make some bad throws in the red zone throughout the season, and against Temple he did the same. He couldn't finish those scoring drives. So if he can do that this year, they won't need that production out of Evan Lewis, who, you know, hasn't really proven himself yet this year.
Yeah, we saw Lewis make a 43-yard field goal. That was his first after missing 2 against Indiana State, so he may come up big here.
Hopefully.
Any other thoughts about the game?
I'm looking forward to going to the Link, that's for sure. It's an NFL stadium. You know, these guys have actually, Penn State's played in a fair share of their NFL stadiums last year, going to the Indiana game in FedEx Field in Washington, and I'm just looking forward to being there. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere.
I'm looking for Penn State to throw its first passing touchdown this year. I'm predicting the first passing touchdown of the year, first quarterback to account for a touchdown. That's not Shane McGregor this year. I think it comes on Saturday.
All right, well, we're signing off here. Be sure to check out our post-game video after the game Saturday.